irons in the fire. It's interesting listening to what's going on with the solar farms. It's kind of parallel to a lot of what we're fighting. Planning commissions are corrupt, appointed boards in a lot of instances that push through things. In our case, at the beginning, the planning commission recognized, so what we have going on, several things. So I started the Protectoral Joco Group, which is a group of homeowners who are saying, no, the intermodal was supposed to stay north of I-35, where everybody agreed to prior to 2013. There's the only comprehensive plan for the area says it needed to stay there, and so somehow, quietly, a developer gets to buy land south of I-35, and then they find a way using the law of consent annexation that if you touch a little corner of the property here, you can say, I want to be part of your city, and they say, okay, come on over, and then they say, we want to be rezoned, and they say, okay. So you fight this whole thing because they're surrounded by unincorporated residents that don't have a voice. And so what I'm fighting at its core is the right to representation, what our basic tenet of our country is founded on. And the part that angers me on a daily basis is the fact that one city and one developer that's also not in this from the state can come in and do whatever they want and not be held accountable. And it's so frustrating. You know, we're not against warehouses. We're against infiltrating residential neighborhoods and putting them there despite the fact that everybody that has property rights said, please don't put that here. It also destroys property values. It brings in truck traffic. They're proposing right now between 199th and 215th, right in the middle of Gardner Road and Moonlight, 9 million square feet of warehouses for Amazon. So what they have on at Phillips 66 at Gardner Road, the traffic nonstop shift changing that you see all the time that is just a mess, they want to come put that in the middle of 117 homes in the middle of the country with 2-lane country roads. And so that's what the first step of this fight was about. So I found a Protectoral Joco, got all the neighbors involved, let them know what was going on, what we needed to do, got everybody to all the planning and zoning meetings. So we spoke out, we won. We left that night and they said no. It was unanimous no. So it went to city council and they said, well, we need a reason why. So they sent it back. And as he was saying, the city council or the commissioners can override the planning commission. In our case, they didn't override. They just said, well, we need a reason. So they sent it back. They blocked everybody that was a resident out of that room, packed the seats with North Point, made everybody else watch in the library. And so the planning commission didn't have to look you straight in the eye. And that's the thing that we're fighting is like Charlotte was saying earlier, if they don't have to look at you, their conscience is like appeased or something, you know? And so the whole room was North Point. Every other seat missing, of course, so that they had COVID restrictions. Even though someone had COVID in January and reported it, and they didn't tell anybody because they had to push all this through so fast. So they only use it when it suits them. But they passed it unanimously. And they went back for a reason for why it was denied, and it left with unanimous approval. And so went to city council, it was approved. Now there's 3 lawsuits against Edgerton from the citizens that say, no, you cannot do this. And so nobody, yes, thank you. Between those 700 acres and another 5 parcels across from Kubota that they are putting along Big Bull Creek that feeds Hillsdale Lake, that's eroding that whole Big Bull Creek, tearing down all the trees so that they can build a couple warehouses because North Point owned that land too. And it was rezoned despite those 450 residents is all they have over there. It used to be a secluded country neighborhood. It was a 2-lane road. In that same comprehensive plan, it said 500 cars a day through the year 2040. Homestead exit to the north to help relieve Gardner Road Bridge, 30,000 cars to the north. This is conservation land. It's rural residential, and it's conservation for the Hillsdale watershed. And so all of that was supposed to be protected, and that's the way that all the communities around are operating off of until they come in and they decide unilaterally, basically, them in North Point, that they could do whatever they want. And so the problem we fight is, in my opinion, and I can't say this publicly a lot, but it is communist China, in my opinion. And they stand before the Planning Commission with their reports. During the time of the pandemic, we have saw now more than ever that global logistics is important to bringing food and supplies to the people. So you're going to destroy all this farmland for this agenda to bring food and supplies to the grocery store shelves that were empty last year? When we were buying from those farmers that you're kicking off, and a realtor came behind the scenes before those properties were even put on the market and said, hey, we want to build some houses so people can live out in the country like you, they would never have sold to North Point. Not the majority of them wouldn't. And so they're tricked, but of course in real estate law, if it's not in writing, it's not enforceable, so there's nothing that can be done. And they bring this in to this community, and how many people would have bought those farms and continued on so that they could be self-sufficient, so that they could have a farming business? And so this is not just going on here, this is going across the entire Midwest right now. North Point is in Illinois, they are in Georgia, they are in Texas, they are in Pennsylvania, they are in Rhode Island. They're destroying this whole area, and if you look back, it is a slippery slope. I mean, we should all be very, very concerned, not just about this, but just about everything. How many places are they using all of these same tactics and techniques to steal our voice, steal our vote, and steal our freedom? And as a mom, that scares the crap out of me, you know, because I want my children to have the freedoms that we have been told all these years we had and did up until this point. Then we realize what's really been going on behind the scenes. And because planning commission meetings or when people are working, board of county commissioners meetings are Thursdays at 9 a.m. or, you know, Wednesdays at 1 p.m. People work, they're busy. Now they've got things so expensive, you have to have 2-family households, and so nobody has time to take to do this, or they thought that their representatives were actually representing them, and then come to find out that they're not paying attention, they're tricky with the reports, they send it through and make it sound like it's actually something that, oh, we get jobs and taxes. Well, these jobs and taxes, the taxes are abated for a minimum of 10 years. They get IRBs that let them have sales tax for free, so all those warehouses that should be paying sales tax on the building to put the money back in the state, that's tax exempt. And every single one of them, so now we have the fire department coming forth and saying, you know, we get $200,000–300,000 a year for this, we should be getting $2 to $3 million, and they don't have the funds that it takes, and guess who pays for that? We do. Miami County is complaining that, that they have to pay more money to hire helpers because everybody's going to the intermodal. So those jobs, we have a very, very low unemployment rate. Those jobs are being stolen from somewhere else. And so these jobs that are going there, now Miami County has to raise their taxes on the residents to pay more for salaries so that we can afford to pay the people to come work for the county. So those jobs are costing the taxpayers money. When Edgerton's roads end, they become a county road, and all of that truck traffic is on these 2-lane roads because they refuse to take the Homestead exit, and they're going through 207th, 215th, Gardner Road, 223rd that has no shoulders, ditches, and trees. So at 55 miles an hour, if you're coming head onto a semi, you get to decide if you want to die hitting a tree or a semi head on. You know, and so these roads, there's no truck routes. Johnson County refuses to put a truck route in because they bought into it's good for the economy. And it's just a really, really frustrating thing to be in as a citizen. So, with all that going on, we're going through the motions doing that. I'm in the middle of starting a new city because what I found is the only thing that can stop them is incorporation with those consent annexations that they're using. And so I learned that a couple of years ago, but it was just too early. And when this started coming down in January, talking to the neighboring cities and looking at the plan, we realized that this was the best option to protect the rights of the citizens, because if not, we do not have representation. Again, if Edgerton surrounds us, their answer was, why the city council approved this in Edgerton? We have to do what's best for Edgerton. It's next door to all of these homes, infiltrated with all this traffic, and they don't have to do what's best for their neighbor at all. Nobody holds them accountable. We don't get to vote for those people. We don't have any representation. And so by having a city with Golden, the foundation of the city that's going through Miami County right now, it actually will set up a government that gives the citizens a voice, because once Edgerton comes in to infiltrate, Miami County has no power over that, just as Johnson County does. And so they can literally make a decision for right here that this person right next door has no say over. They say they give you due process because they serve you papers and you get to go if you're within 1,000 feet and say, I don't like this, but they've already made up their mind. So to me, that's not due process if someone already goes in there with their unbiased agenda that they're going to move forward with what you say. And so, as citizens, it's frustrating that we have no one all the way up to the state level who can help us, because although it's completely unethical, everything that's being done, technically it's legal. So that's why with Golden, we're using the law that's being used against us to stand up for our rights and say enough is enough, take it somewhere else, put it where it belongs, but we have to be able to maintain our property rights and our property values and our right to representation so that we can continue to grow and have more residential neighborhoods available. Everybody wants to hide behind this word progress and make you feel like you're not in my backyard NIMBY if you're against progress, but progress means money in their pocket and stealing from us, and that's not very much fun as progress to me. But so that's just a couple of the things we have going. Of course, there's some new, we've educated the residents of Edgerton to let them know what has been going on that they weren't aware of and how they can work better with their neighbors. So there's some new people running there, so that's exciting. So that, I mean, Gardner, Edgerton, Spring Hill, hopefully Golden, should all be working together to protect our citizens instead of having one person just on this giant land grab that I don't care how much it costs you, I want to move somebody, you know. And so that's kind of what we're up against in a nutshell. I could talk for hours and I have been for months now. But the biggest thing for us, Protectable JOCO is, like I said, there's 3 lawsuits against that right now. You can go on Facebook to Protectable JOCO, and there are places there that you can donate to the legal fund. You can just go to protectablejoco.com. If you know anybody, not only does this help with this whole Southwest Johnson County and Northwest Miami County, again, it helps with the Hillsdale Lake, because one thing that Edgerton has, that because they have only 1,700 residents, they have 0 regulations for stormwater management. So when the stormwater rolls off of those 1 million square feet warehouses into their detention ponds and then dumped into Big Blue Creek, or however they are handled, there's nothing regulating what's going on with Hillsdale Lake. And KDHE cannot get involved unless some studies are done that starts proving something's going on, but nobody wants to do the study because the Kansas Commerce Department really likes the commerce. And so when you're dealing with a state where the different departments are at odds with each other, it's really hard to get anyone to want to help you. And so if anybody likes fishing, camping, Hillsdale Lake, anything like that, get the word out to your friends so that they can help to donate to the Legal Fund to Protect. I really believe we are in a position that we have some really strong lawsuits because of the facts, the merits, and the golden criteria, which goes behind the planning and zoning. And so those can keep going forward as long as they're keep being funded. So we'll know when the time comes. Obviously, courts are slow anyway. With COVID, everything's really slow. But we'll just hang in there, keep going, and keep everybody interested in the meantime. So it's kind of a summary. But is there any questions for anybody about any of that?
How do we get some nails?
Oh, we bought those. So for our corporation, we had to have at our public hearing, everybody showed up in our We Are Golden shirts to let the Miami County Commissioners know how important this is to us. And because we're within 5 miles of other cities, we have to have a unanimous vote of all commissioners. And so we have not got that vote yet. I go every week, every Wednesday is when Miami County has their study sessions. And so everything that I told them, they had to get experts to make sure I was telling the truth. And so that's what they've been doing since June 23rd. They've had the sheriff come forward to let them know that yes, they can continue the same service that we have now. It doesn't cost the residents any more money unless we want more services. They had Road and Bridge come out and talk about that. They've had the watershed come forth and see what we're talking about. They had the appraiser give their appraisal report, which was very, very limited in the scope, and I wasn't happy with it. So I've got my own report on their desk waiting for it to be presented. Just staying on top of that to make sure that everything is factual. And then once they are finished hearing all of their expert testimony, that should close on October 6th, and we should have a vote by the last week of October. So, but all of that aside, like that is such a small piece of the puzzle of everything that we're looking at on a national level. You know, for me, I could be at home watching the national shit show and pulling my hair out and not being able to do anything about it, or I could do something. And right now, this is what God put before me to do. And I didn't realize where I was speaking to tonight, so it's wonderful. You know, I mean, faith, family, and freedom, that's what I live by every single day, you know, and I was telling them, you know, God put me here. Every single thing that I've been able to do through this whole thing, whether it's leadership, marketing, putting up the websites, guiding the people, writing those appraisal reports, putting forth anything that needed to be done, communications, like every single skill he's ever given me in my life is just like, this is what it's here for, you know. And so, you know, as busy as this year has been, because I've done all this since January, right? And so as busy as it's been, like, it's not that bad, really. Because I mean, I'm a homeschool mom, so I've got a 2-year-old. We work from home. Thank you. We work from home, and I've been a homeschool mom since birth, you know, so for 12 years. So it's not anything new, not mask related or anything. But thank God we were already in this position. My husband and I work from home, so over the last 2 years we didn't have to deal with that. So I helped him with his business, and so all of these things that are going on, you know, someone's like, how do you get your energy? And to me, you know, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. Because to me, there's nothing that I'm doing. I'm just the vessel that God is speaking through because He's put me in this position. And so it's wonderful for me to see people that are interested in doing something instead of just sitting on their keyboard on Facebook bitching about it. And so just do what you can where you can. Everybody needs to speak up and come forth because that's what it's going to take. I mean, a revolution doesn't have to be a war. It can just truly be the people rising up again. I love that meme that shows all the people laying on their hands and knees with the chessboard on their back. I mean, raise up. Game's over. I mean, take back the power that we have and don't let them take any more from us.